So I think I made a video before about my weirdness, but of course weirdo. But anyway, not weird. It's nice, I think. But anywho, I'm always trying to save the worms, or the birds, or the cats, or the animals, or the people. But again, so I'm like a girl, not like like a regular. I don't know. I'm not like a typical girl. I'm not afraid to get dirty or like pick up the worms. But they do be getting a little, the girly side comes out because they're all wiggly and slimy, and you're like, it's just different. So, but again, I'm trying to help them. So I'm like, stop, little worm, stop. They're like squiggling and wiggling and trying to like go back to. And I'm like, I'm trying to give you a better home. Like I'm trying to help you. And imagine that's what God feels like every day. Every day when He's trying to send us to a new home, to a better kingdom, to a better family, to a better life. But yet we're just so slippery and resistant because we're comfortable in the dead dirt. Again, the worms I was saving today, they were in dead dirt. And I've got this compost flower bed that I was like moist dirt full of nutrients. I've got wild strawberries and like onions and things growing. Like life is growing, the nutrient rich. I'm like, I'm trying to put you in this better home where you'll be safe in the shade because it's been so hot and the dirt that they're in is like dead. But they're like resistant. They keep trying to go back to where I'm trying to save them from. And I'm like, stop it, little worms. I'm trying to give you a better house, like a castle, like God is trying to give to us. And I just keep I had to stop because I'm like, before too, I made a post about it. I think it was a bit different, but again, the book of the Bible or God's message is always love, and it's always consistent. And sometimes the message repeats itself because we are from a stubborn household, or we are from the dirt, the dead dirt, where He breathes life into us. So at times we cling to that because it's familiar, it's part of us. But He's trying to get us to our divine home, to the kingdom of heaven, to a new life, to where there's love and light and nutrients that are for our spirit and our bodies. And again, we just so resist it, right? Because we just go back to this dead dirt that we are used to being in because it's familiar. And we don't realize that this big giant hand is trying to scoop us up out of this dead dirt and putting us in this new, refreshing, luxurious, safe place so we could thrive instead of just being survival, which is what these worms were doing. So again, so many times throughout my day, I'm just like, what an awesome Father God is, and what an awesome life this is. And like, somehow we just keep missing it or take it for granted, or we don't stop and see the signs and the signals in like the very simplest of things, or the mirror, right? So like life is mirrored back to us, the shadows that we need to fix on ourselves. So today, like I said before, like we see ourselves in things, He sees Himself in us. So we are fine-tuning Him and He is fine-tuning us. And we just have to stop being the worms that are resisting His giant hand of love that is trying to take us to the new kingdom, to the new home, to our new family, full of nutrients for our spirit, our hearts, and our bodies. But it can be hard. And again, sometimes that light bulb moment, ding, it's something so simple like a worm in the dirt. Anywho, I hope everybody remembers to drink water, but mostly to drink Jesus, to drink your Bible, to drink God. I know it gets conflicting because sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, I just made 20 videos about the book being dead and Christ being, but again, He is in the book, but the book is not meant for 1,000% to cling to, because God wrote a new covenant when He sent Christ. And with Christ, the law died, and the new family and the new kingdom was to be built. And also, again, I mentioned the Antichrist being the opposite, because again, but this is the thing too. So Christ has become an idol Himself, forgetting, and us as a people, that we are meant to be grateful, but we are not meant to worship idols. So like the cross, the necklaces, the imagery, these things are what we're worshiping instead of God or Jesus himself, the real divinity. So the Antichrist would be the breaking down of the churches as we know them, to break down the boundaries and division, or the races, because again, excuse me, I wasn't having an issue. It's just funny how sometimes we can be called into other people's issues. But it's because, again, we're helpful, we're loving. So my neighbors had an issue, and so I don't like to be gossipy, but it's an important story. So one is from Jordan, and one is from Syria. And there's a language and a racial issue between not just the families, but the cultures, the countries themselves, the governments, the religions, the language, the embedded traumas and issues. So, but again, because like I told you before in a different video, when you speak with love, everybody can understand you. So it's kind of ironic because neither of the families speak English very well, and I speak nothing of their languages, but yet for some reason they have an easier time dealing with me, or me speaking for them, between them, or even their children, because the girls they always have like a little thing, and one day they're best friends and the next day they hate each other. But again, it's always Auntie can come to the rescue. So even with the moms, because moms are just big girls, but also too the separation and the misunderstanding. So it's quite interesting, because the neighbor that's above them was doing the exact same thing as the neighbor underneath them. So, which is simply, they were washing clothing. They don't have washing machines, so the mothers are washing by hand, wringing them out, and then hanging them on the railing to dry. And they're also trying to teach the kids responsibilities like cleanliness, and kids being kids, sometimes they just take the easy way out, or they don't really realize, or even somebody who's downstairs doesn't realize what's going on upstairs. So the neighbor upstairs was doing nothing wrong. Now mind you, both mothers at different times do these different laundries, and there's a front entrance and a back entrance. And now I've been initiated before making the kids clean up or take care of gifts I'd given them or each other, their friendships, not lashing out in their angers, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, the point of this, too, is that typically both of the neighbors have not a good experience in their homes, because they're both not realizing the suffering or the struggles that each of the neighbors is enduring. But again, they're the same struggles. So like the clothing or the water, the mop water or whatever, they both throw typically over the side of the railing, which messes up the entrances, which drips down through the wood, which whether it's clean water or dirty water or anything, it just makes the entrances and exits, which have you, unhospitable or welcoming. And the one neighbor had presented me food, but because the other neighbor had thrown stuff down the water, it was leaking through all the wood and the garbage and the food, yada yada yada, so the food is ruined. But again, they're not good at talking to each other or just saying, hey, there's an issue. So I've listened to the one mother, and because I had been over there, and the daughter's telling me something, and so I say, okay, I'll go. Let me go talk to her. Let me go see what's going on. Because, again, they love to blame the one oldest daughter for whatever reason. They're always blaming this one girl. And it's typically not the whole story, of course. And the mother loves to blame the mother, and the daughter blames the daughter. And, again, the husbands are always gone to work. And so either way. But back to what I was saying. So I go up. Boop, boop, boop. Auntie's here. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And, again, because of the language barrier, it takes a minute to explain what's going on. But like I tell the kids or myself or adults or YouTube, if you talk with love, anybody will understand. So being patient and saying it many times and explaining that they're doing the same thing, the mother repeated to me after we talked a few times, and at first the daughter was there to kind of translate, but which is a tricky thing too, because I've had issues before with using the children to be translators. They can buffer the story as they wish, not through no fault of their own, but they're just kids, right? So it's important too to be able to communicate. But again, communication, it's primarily with love, and if you talk with love, everybody will understand. So the neighbor said that I was talking to upstairs, she's like, so what I think, or my thought is what you're saying is that my neighbor's suffering. And I'm like, yes, exactly. But you're suffering the same. But also, too, I have volunteered my services to the downstairs neighbor, so I volunteer my services to you. I have washer and dryer. I can gladly help out, ease the burden, because they're like, there's no money for washer machines in the laundromat. Fine, no problem. Bring it to Auntie. Auntie can help. I gladly will do this. Or let's figure out a plan where we can rotate laundry time so that not both entrances are dripping water or both interfering with the way of life or company or just in general. There's got to be some kind of chart or fluctuation that we can understand. And so too, when I went to go explain this to the neighbor downstairs, like, hey, she didn't understand that you were suffering. Like, she didn't know. She didn't know. You were so bent up and convinced that she was doing it on purpose. And then you're mad at her because of her color of her skin or the language she speaks. But it had nothing to do with it at all. And again, she had no idea you were suffering. And you had no idea that what the suffering was being caused by was the exact same suffering she had been experiencing, which is having the clothes to be hand washed, wrung out, and then dripping everywhere. So it's kind of silly. It's kind of funny, right? Like, sometimes we're not able to see that the suffering that everybody's suffering is exactly the same. And because we get blinded by languages and colors of our skin, and self-consumed tunnel vision, again, about we must be the only ones suffering, this must be a spiteful thing, this must be because they hate me because I'm not the same color or I'm not the same language. But again, it had nothing to do with it. It was both just two women who were trying to do the best they could with what they had and had no realization whatsoever that the similarities in their suffering and the love for their children and family was causing suffering for each other. But they didn't have to be suffering at all, because again, ask for help, ask to the Lord, ask to your neighbor, ask to the one that you think is causing them. Communicate, right, with love though. Don't come like, bleh, 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 bleh. Come with love, because that's what the problem is. That's what's going to unite us all. Once we realize that we are one flesh, one spirit, one race, one language, all of that being of the Father, the Son, the Spirit, and love. Like, that's it. It's that simple.